Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Bartgall, and welcome back to another episode of Rock Roundtable. Now, today we are going to be discussing what was on our Spotify Wraps. That came out Spotify Wrapped here just a few days ago, and it is sort of like the most listened to songs and artists by us on Spotify this last year. I will say that not all my music I listen to is on Spotify. Some of it's on vinyl record, some of it's on CD. But me, Ben, Matthew, and Santiago all wanted to kind of discuss all Spotify Wrapped here just very briefly. Um, so today with me I have Ben,
Hello.
Matthew,
My shadow doesn't show in the dark.
and Santiago.
Hi, y'all. Hello.
Also, I will say to Matthew, of course your shadow doesn't show in the dark, because shadow can't exist without a light source. Alright, let's hop right into it. Ben, you want to discuss your Wrapped first?
Sure. My top artist was the Beatles. Surprise, surprise. Followed by The Who, David Bowie, Electric Light Orchestra, and the Kinks. My top songs were, oddly enough, number one was All Day and All Night by the Kinks. I'm not entirely sure why that is. Number two, also not entirely sure why it is, seems to be Good Times, Bad Times by Led Zeppelin. Number three is Fortunate Son by Queen's Crowell Revival. Number four is Matthew's favorite Steely Dan song, Dory Walk. And then number five is Behind Blue Eyes by The Who.
Alright, and how many minutes did you listen to on Spotify?
Over 13,000.
Alright, well, that's a pretty good, list of songs and artists there. It's all stuff I like, mostly. So yeah, you had a pretty good Spotify Wrapped there, Ben. Matthew, how about you tell us about your Spotify Wrapped?
Don't mind if I do. My top five, as I usually do, I start from the bottom and then go to the top. Number five is Paramore. Number four is One Direction. Number three is Drake. Number two is Disclosure. And number one is The Weeknd. My top five songs are Spaceship Coupe by Justin Timberlake, Style by Taylor Swift, Repeat After Me Interlude by The Weeknd, Stockholm Syndrome by One Direction, and Nocturnal by Disclosure featuring The Weeknd.
Alright, and it also looks like you are the only person who's most listened to genre was pop and not rock. So Matthew, tell us about how many
Oh,
minutes you
spoiler alert.
Matthew,
Spoiler alert.
Matthew, tell us about
Sorry.
how many minutes you listen to on Spotify.
All right, hold on to your butts. One 114,781 minutes.
Yeah. I sit here.
That's not true.
I sit here on. Sometimes when I'm on Discord, I will see Matthew, and he just listens to Spotify constantly. I can tell. So
Well,
I mean, he's beaten all
do
of
you
us.
even sleep listening music?
Matthew just has it running all the time.
It's true. I listen to music all the time.
It's true.
Even sleeping?
Well, not actually during sleeping, but I
Every
did not
waking,
cheat like some people did.
every
Wait,
waking
but
moment.
do you actually listen to the music or you just leave it in the background?
Oh, I listen to the music like when I'm playing video games. While sometimes I, excuse me, when I'm on my computer. Sometimes when I watch sports, I just listen to music. It's like a good coping mechanism.
Mm, all right.
But Matthew, Will is Selling by Christopher Cross.
It is. It's in my top 100, but it's not in my top five. Sadly, my most listened to Christopher Cross song was actually "Ride Like the Wind."
Alright, moving on. Santiago, you want to tell us about your Spotify Wrapped?
Yeah, sure. So, okay. I will also begin from the bottom. In the fifth fifth place is George Harrison. Well, as you know, he's my favorite Beatle. So I always love listening to George Harrison. I don't know the whole discography. Uh, it's always pleasing to listen to George Harrison. I feel his songs speak too much to me. Anyway, the following is George Bacharach because well, I discovered him this year. Actually, like when I when I saw in the news that he died, so it got my attention. Like who was this composer artist? Uh, so I started, discovering his music, and I really like it. It's more like it's not rock. It's more like I don't know how to say it, but most of his songs are very famous because they get covered by other artists like Dionne Warwick or even the Beatles. Well, there's a lot of artists that has do covers as well. Aretha Franklin with "Say a Little Prayer for You." Also, one of my favorites from well, he's also in the list, which is a band, Her Alpert and Tijuana Brass. It's another discovery I did this year alongside Baccarat. Since I listened to this song, "This Guy's in Love with You," and I was completely obsessed with this song, and so I discovered it was from Burt Bacharach. So it was kind of timing there that I was discovering all of this all at once. So I was listening a lot of them this year, especially in February. Um, but her output, I listened a ton of this band throughout the year. I just love it. And then in the second place is Bob Dylan. I do know Bob Dylan since I discovered him. Like basically, I always knew Bob Dylan, but then I got into him back in 2018 when I started discovering music, basically. but this year, I feel I have discovered a ton more about Bob Dylan. I don't know. I kinda get into the whole thing. I start researching more about Bob, and I listen to all the albums of his from the 60s, mostly the 60s, because I honestly, in my opinion, I prefer Dylan from the 60s more than 70s or 80s. So yeah, and the first place is of course Beatles, my favorite band, and this is nothing new because last year, well, like in the last 3 years, the Beatles have been, in my top one from Spotify Rap. Like at this point, I know the whole discography and all the deep cuts and everything about them. So yeah, okay, I'm going to my top songs. Well, surprisingly, here is the first. I will be now from the first to the bottom. The first one, Now and Then, which is the latest Beatles song, and I was surprised it's here because well, it's a new song. But according to Spotify, I have heard this song 42 times, and I gotta admit, I listened a lot this song when it came out. Like I will put it on repeat and listen over and over again this song. So yeah, also it's no surprise it's here in this list. The second place, well, I'm also surprised because I wasn't expecting at all Blackbird from the White Album because I don't recall listening to this song that much. But if Spotify says so, anyway. The third place it's a song from Burt Bacharach. It's one of his most iconic songs, I will say. It's called The Look of Love. On the fourth place, it's also from Burt Bacharach. What the world needs now is love. Also, very a classic song here. Because most of his songs are basically love songs, very romantic songs. So yeah, that's the thing I like. And the last song is "Love Me Do." I guess it appears here because since now they release now and then alongside "Love Me Do" another version from '62, and so I will also listen basically as much as now and then. I almost listen "Love Me Do" as well, which is the following song from that single. So yeah, no surprise there. And the total minutes of my total minutes of of my whole listening thing from this year, 25,000 minutes, and the most listened genre of music I heard this year was classic rock.
And now for mine. Okay, so my top artists were at number 5, The Kinks, number 4, The Beatles, number 3, The Who, number 2, The Rolling Stones, and number 1, Electric Light Orchestra. And I will say, part of the reason why I think these bands in particular got on here is because I listened to a lot of these bands, just a whole lot on a 12-day road trip I took in August. Um, on that road trip, I listened to every single Beatles album, every single Rolling Stones album, every single The Who album, and every single Electric Light Orchestra album. And I also listened to all but one of the Kinks' albums because one of their albums is not on Spotify. So I listened to the entire discography, basically, of all of these bands, or the entire album discography, the entire studio album discography, as well as at least one live album in The Who's case, on this road trip in August. So that's partly why it's those bands. I am kind of surprised the Beach Boys weren't on here because during most months they were towards the top of my like top 5 most listened to artists, but I guess they just didn't make the cut because I didn't listen to them as heavily on that road trip. For my top songs, at number 5 I have Sweet Talkin' Woman by Electric Light Orchestra. That's my favorite song from Out of the Blue. And number 4 we have My Generation by The Who. Not really sure how that got there. I don't really remember listening to that much this year, but I do like that song. Number 3 is Torn to Stone from Out of the Blue. I listened to Out of the Blue quite a bit this year. I, of course, reviewed it on my channel, and some of the songs I did listen to a couple times on Spotify in addition to listening to the album on vinyl record in order to write the review, but also I did listen to quite a bit off of, the walk. I listened on the road trip. I listened to it just on my own. Number 2 was Across the Border, also from Out of the Blue by Electric Light Orchestra. I could listen to this album quite a bit this year. And number 1 is Every Little Thing by Jeff Lynne, which is from Jeff Lynne's Armchair Theater album after Electric Light Orchestra broke up. That was not what I was expecting, but it's there. It's a good song. And my top genre was rock, of course, and minutes listened was 23,454. So I am ranked, I believe, third of us. Matthew's by far the person who's listened to the most music on Spotify this year. He's at 114,000. Then Santiago, he's at 25,000. And then me at 23,000. And then the least has been at only 13,000. Ben is like 10,000 minutes behind me. I'm like 2,000 behind Santiago, and we're all just well below Matthew's 114,000.
I gotta say that your top songs, Chris, I really like.
I'm so
I love those songs. Like, but no, like it's well, like My Generation is not a song I listen often, honestly. But the rest of the other songs, yeah, I really like those songs.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised you didn't have Electric Light Orchestra on yours, Santiago.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I'm also surprised. Then, like later on in the day, I was thinking like, oh my god, wait a moment, the Electric Orchestra wasn't even in my top. Like it's actually the first time ever I don't see Yellow on my top artist. And okay, I gotta admit that I didn't listen that much of Yellow this year because honestly, most of the year I've been focusing on discovering new artists, and it's also that's why there's, I would say, new artists, new names on my top list. Because yeah, like my goal this year in music basically was to discover as much as I could new artists. Let's say new because well, it's not new, but you get it. So I put aside like all the songs I usually listen all the time. Like I would say like my comfort zone. which is the Beatles, Electric Light Orchestra, or even George Harrison. So I basically put aside all of that and listen to stuff I didn't know about. But still, the Beatles appear in the first place because yeah, in the month of November, this this month I listened the Beatles basically non-stop. But the rest of the year was listening to other stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and briefly here, I do want to discuss the overlap. I don't think any song appeared on more than one of our top songs. As for artists, though, there is a little bit of overlap. The Beatles appear on Santiago, mine, and Ben's. Ben and Santiago both have the Beatles at first. I have them at fourth. The Kinks appear on both mine and Ben's at five on both of ours, so there's an overlap there. Electric Light Orchestra appears on both mine and Ben's at first for me, at four for Ben. The Who appears on both mine and Ben's at two for Ben and at three for me. Um, and let's see. I think that's basically it, actually, as far as overlap goes. Matthew didn't overlap with anyone. um, so yeah, that certainly was interesting. You could tell how me, Ben, and Santiago have kind of similar listening habits, and then Matthew just has this like wildly different sort of style he listens to.
I'm my own beast, honestly.
He's his own beast.
Oh
But
god.
me, I am the true Electric Light Orchestra enjoyer here. I'm built different, guys.
No, no, I love Electric Light Orchestra. It's just that, as I said, I was trying to get out of my comfort zone to discover new artists this year.
Yeah, I think we all will to some degree. I mean, we've been doing the album club and stuff like that, so I've certainly listened to a
Oh
whole lot of
yeah,
new stuff this year, actually.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
alright, well, that's it for today's episode, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed watching and kind of hearing our thoughts on this stuff and single Spotify raps. And once again, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. See you in the next video.